Hello guys, welcome to the video. Today I will be sharing with you the 5 best 2v2 deck combinations inside of Clash Royale. These should help you get up to 30 wins in the 2v2 league, as well as push top 10k if you want to do that. So the first deck is this Lava Hound clone deck. It is very effective and can catch your opponents off guard. So let's get into the game with that. Alright guys, into the game with this deck. Honestly, it's pretty good. You just have to save your clone and kind of use it as like a gimmick and not really show it too early, as well as know that you're going to get a lot of your damage just from chip damage with your miners. And our opponent here are playing double witch, and our teammate just goes for a vines on it, and then we just go for a flying machine on his wall breakers. Our teammate does go for a tombstone, but it's nice because it tanks for the flying machine a little bit, and then I can get a nice little miner here to tank even more. And then I could zap the tower there, but he did play his rail delivery, so there's no real point. Then our teammate goes for a ground spirit empress to kill all of that. Then we just go for minions to clean up his mini P.E.K.K.A there, and now we have a skeleton dragons or a zap for the skeleton barrel. We just end up going for a zap. I do kind of miss the vines on the musketeer, which would have been very nice, as it probably would have taken it out, but it's fine and we can still deal with it. So I guess go for a little prince because it's a little bit cheaper. And our teammate hovers the vines, but he doesn't go for it. Now he vines is on top of the turret to keep our little prince alive, and that 3 elixir for the vines kind of matches the 3 elixir for the turret. And then we go for a nice flying machine, which will take out the firecracker and do a lot of damage to the skeleton king. And our teammate goes for the E-drag, which will really just destroy all those skeletons that he spawns. And then we just go for a nice little miner here with his E-drag and skelly barrel, and then we can get a nice clone off as well. And now that E-drag is alive, and now there's 2 of them, so they're going to do even more stun. And then our teammate clones again, and now the tower's barely even shooting. That is tower down because we used our clones when there was something on tower, and it worked out very well for us. And then our teammate hits a amazing kite with the Spirit Empress there. And now we're up a tower and 50 seconds left, and this deck combination is very defensive, as really all of the ones in this video are, because defense is very important in 2v2s. And if your beatdown strategy doesn't work, you do have the miners plus the vines to chip down stuff, and our teammate just goes for a vines top of the witches. I do as well. Vines can really just take out any threat to you because you can just double vines it. And now we go for a really nice clone, as there's a lot of clonable things there, like flying machine, like E-drag, like skeleton barrel. Our teammate misses the clone a little bit, but doesn't really matter, and we should still take the tower because of all the stuff we have down on it and cloned. And then that is the game with this deck. On to deck number 2. Alright guys, and then here is the second deck of the video. It is this very nice Evo barrel double bait deck that can apply some insane pressure, and it will just win you games, and it has a great defense, especially with the Mother Witch to protect you against swarms like Graveyard. So let's get into the gameplay. Alright, here's the game with the bait deck, and this is pretty effective because if you can get the mini tanks like the Skeleton King and the Golden Knight in opposite lanes and then go for double Evo barrel, you can just overwhelm your opponents so much. There are going to be 2 games with this deck in this video because the first one ended so easily because of all the pressure we can apply with this deck. So he goes for a NATO on our Goblin Barrel, which is fine. It's good for him because King Tower is twice as good in this matchup, and I was just placing an anti-NATO position because I'm going to have to do that for the rest of the game here. And then they go for a Bandit and a Knight, and our teammate just goes for a Golden Knight, which is very nice. And then we can go in for a Dark Goblin in the middle here to get tanked for by the Golden Knight. Now the Dark Goblin just runs in front, but it doesn't really matter because it's kind of nice to have the Golden Knight being tanked for a little bit. And then we just go for a Skeleton King, and our teammate goes for a Log. Now we have a Skeleton King on the field, which is pretty nice. And then we go for 2 Fire Spirits. That cleans out their minion horde for a +4 trade. And then we go for a Log on the E-Spirit, and it also hits the archers, of course. And then we can go in for a nice poison to kill both of his firecrackers here. Well, it only kills one, but we only want one to die because now we get a king tower because the firecracker activates it for us. Now we can go in for a gang to take all that out. And then a goblin barrel because we have so much stuff down. And it tanks for the golden knight and he gets his ability down. And that is just so much damage because of all the pressure we applied, and they give up. And I will skip to game number 2 because we just decimated him after this. I mean, as you can see, it's game over. Now the second game with this deck, the real full game that went all the way, is going to be a pretty decent one, as I do have Sparky, but this will show kind of the importance of some of the cards on this deck, allowing the double poison to take out the Sparky and get some really, really nice chip damage. And then that also lowers the HP of the Hero Knights. Yeah, guys, these decks have no heroics, so you can run them regardless of what hero you got. And that's pretty nice. You can definitely sub in some heroes, like you could put Hero Knight in the deck instead of Golden Knight, maybe. But Golden Knight does the job very, very well. It's just, if you got Hero Knight, you might want to play it. I can understand that. So we're just going for 2 Goblin Barrels. Now we know they have 2 spells, which is very nice for us because we can bait. If we bait out 1 spell with like a Dark Goblin or a Goblin Gang, we can then double barrel and get a barrel on tower. Then he goes for his red delivery. So now we know he has 3 spells, but that's still not the worst, as you will see we are able to bait their spells pretty easily. And that's really what this deck is about. Your opponent needs to have 2 spells instead of the 1 for the barrel, because you have 2 barrels. And if you can get Evo barrels, they need to have a lot of spells, or take damage, like almost guaranteed, because you have 2 Evo barrels. You always go for a log on the Ewiz to get a piggy and reduce the damage. And now we're in a pretty good spot here. Now let's go for a Goblin Hut to hopefully bait a spell. We bait a log. So I go for my Dark Goblin. And I'm just hovering the barrel here because we have a great counter push. And our teammate goes for it as well. And now they use their Royal Delivery. And all they have to do is kind of suffer as we do a bunch of damage because we baited all their spells. And we dodge their log, which is very, very, very nice. And we get a huge damage lead. And keep in mind, guys, all these decks are very defensive. So your damage leads are going to be very, very hard to lose if you play correctly. And he goes for a Spark in the back, and we just go for a poison on top of that here and log his Evo wall breakers. And that Skeleton King, keep in mind, is still generating souls, so it will be stronger when it gets up to the bridge, ideally for a double Evo barrel push. But he goes in for the piggies, so we have to defend that. And then he goes for a nice Earthquake, getting the Dark Goblin and the Tesla. And we just go for a log on top of that Musketeer to reduce the damage. And now we do not really have our counter push that we wanted to for our Evo Goblin Barrels, but it's fine. We're just trying to set it up again. He goes for a Sparky at the bridge because he doesn't want us to poison it, which is kind of funny. And then we just go in for an ability to delay the Sparky. I'm going for a Dark Goblin to help DPS down that knight in case he abilities. We go for a Fire Spirit to pull the Road Delivery as well as the Maypec over, and that is the game with this deck. Pretty big shutout here. So we take the games with this deck onto deck number 3. The third deck here, guys, is a bridge spam Ram Rider deck that can overwhelm your opponents, especially if you track their elixir and make sure it's low, and then just going for like a Ram Rider at the bridge. They really can't defend it. And you have lightning to remove buildings as well, so let's get into the games. Alright, into the game with the bridge spam deck. This deck is super good. It has some amazing defense, as in all the decks do in this video, with the Executioner and the Golden Knight. Evo Executioner just shutting stuff down, as well as like having the Evo Tesla from the other deck that's being played. And then the Tornado, as well as the Vines, can really just shut stuff down, like Hog Riders or like 3 Musketeers. So our opponent goes for a Hero Musketeer, and I go in for a very nice little Golden Knight here in the middle, as it will chain on everything, and our teammate goes for a Vines. And that's really his entire push down, and now we have a pretty good counter push. I'm going to try and get a boss bend on the left side there in time, but I didn't have enough elixir, so might as well just do an executioner on defense to cycle the Evo, as well would splash to the Musketeer if he deployed his turret there. And then he goes for an E-drag, which is very nice because our executioner can do a little bit of damage to that and lighten the threat of it. And guys, I'm interested to know how you guys are enjoying 2v2 leagues, so drop a comment in the comments down below on how you guys are feeling about it, what your guys' opinions are on it. So we go for a Ram Rider because they did Elixir Collector and they used their Ice Spirit, so they're down a little bit of Elixir, and then we go ahead and go for a ability with our Boss Bandit. Unfortunately, me and my teammate did the exact same thing with a Log, but it's fine. And then he goes for a Elixir Golem, which we can defend pretty easily here. And now we have a decent counter push. We have a nice little Archer Queen and a Lumberjack. He goes for a Freeze and a Rage, which is 6 Elixir and in 1x Elixir and in 2v2s. It's a lot of an overcommit. So we go for a Golden Knight on that side, and our teammate goes in for a nice Ram Rider on the left side here. And that is pretty much game because we tracked their Elixir and I told him to go for the Ram Rider, and that's just game. So now it's just defense, and we just try and take out that Musketeer there and take out the tower with the Executioner, which the NATO does accomplish. And now he's put a Elixir Golem in the back, so now we just have to really defend their big push, and then we win the game. So there's 2 Elixir Golems, and I really do not like that Electro Dragon, so I go for a Lightning to try and take it out, which does take it out. And then go for a Log to just slow everything. Our teammate goes for a Log. I go for my Golden Knight, activate the ability, but he freezes it, but it still gets the ability off after the freeze is done, and then I just NATO everything back. And there's 10 seconds left, and we could defend this even if there wasn't 10 seconds left. We just need to spam our spells, and our tanks, like the Golden Knight here, would really have just taken everything out. And that is the game. Alright guys, and then the 4th combination here is a Curse and Vines Graveyard deck, which can be very, very effective at just going for a graveyard and then countering whatever they play to defend it. So let's get into the games with this deck combination. Yeah guys, the real strength of this deck is being able to graveyard and then choose how to counter how they defend your graveyard, because if they go with swarms like a Goblin Gang, you can go for a Curse Zap and take it out, and then you have a bunch of goblins on their tower. And if they go for like a Witch, you can just Curse, Vines, and Zap, and then you get a couple goblins because of skeletons, as well as just Vinesing it and freezing it essentially, which is very, very, very nice and nets you some almost guaranteed damage. So we go for a Bowler to take out his Musketeer and his Mega Knight, and we go for a nice ability to tank some of those Musketeer shots once our Skeleton King dies. He goes for a NATO, and honestly we just start defending. And Spirit Empress, you'll notice, is in a couple of these decks, and I like to include it, because it is super, super strong if you can tank for it. It can really just turn tides of a game with its range and its insane DPS, and it is very hard to remove with spells. So I'd just be putting it in a lot of these decks. You'll see it's in the last deck of the video as well. Both decks actually have it. So we just go for a nice Executioner to get the Evo. Evo Executioner is just a defensive, like, champ. Like, nothing can break through it. And we just go for a nice Zap on top of the Sparky, and that kills the Dark Goblin, as well as doing a lot of damage to the Sparky, as well as a couple skeleton hits as well, which is very nice. And a lot of graveyard decks, 2v2 decks, fall into 2 categories. They're either some type of beatdown, or there's some type of control, and this deck can help beat both of them because you have such good stuff, and it is almost both of them in a way, because you have the freeze graveyard combo that would be control, but you also have like Spirit Empress and Skeleton King here, as you'll see, which can be considered like beatdown. So I was just hovering a Curse there because I never knew what he was going to play. And now we just go for a nice Executioner on top of all that, as well as our teammate going for a Golden Knight, which cleans up that entire thing. Knows how I played my Executioner, so even if he did Hero Knight ability, it would have hit the Musketeer and the turret as well. And we just go for a nice Curse plus Zap to predict the skeletons in the graveyard. which is very, very, very nice, and that gives us a lot of damage, just showing you guys really how effective the curse zap is with the graveyard if you know your opponent has some type of swarm. We just go for a Evo Zap to clear all that out and get a little bit of a counter push here, keeping our bowler alive. And our teammate has the vines. He misses it. He's just trying to predict something. It's fine. Doesn't really matter. It's only 3 elixir. Our teammate BMs, or sorry, our opponent BMs, but that's not really a big deal. You know, it doesn't really matter. He's not going to win this game because of the crazy defense we have. And we both went for a building there. I'm making a lot of speech errors here, but it's not that big of a deal. He goes for a building at the same time I do, but it doesn't really matter. We just go for another curse prediction for a Skarmy, but he doesn't play it, which is still fine because Dark Goblin can't really protect him from the curse and zap damage that we did with the spells, as well as a couple sneaky skeleton hits. So now we just clean up his whole defense pretty easily here. Nothing too insane. And we just go for a nice zap on top of the Sparky to stun it. Our teammate goes for a curse, or sorry, a vines, and we just go for goblins. We just go for a tombstone on top of his skeleton barrel to take all those skeletons. And we're in a pretty good spot. Our teammate probably could have Golden Knight ability there and it would have gotten a tower, but you know, we still are gonna win. Just go for a nice Tesla to bait over the balloon. Go for an Ice Spirit to tank that Sparky hit. Go for a zap to stop the Sparky from shooting. He goes for his Skarmy, we just curse it. And then our teammate Nados, which takes them all out and then gets us a little bit more goblins. And now we're just kind of defending by throwing out our ranged troops and then stopping their troops from attacking, particularly the Sparky. We just pull that balloon with the tombstone. Go for a nice graveyard here with this counter push. And then our teammate can go for a nice vines, and I can go for a zap for the Skarmy, and then a curse as well to take out the minions. And that's pretty annoying for them to deal with. It's some guaranteed damage. And then the Spirit Empress, you'll see, just you can kind of get a sense for how much value it's getting. Like it's not getting taken off the board anytime soon. That thing just stays alive forever, and it takes out a Hero Knight, a Mega Knight, and also works on the Musketeer a little bit. But the game's over. Now on to the last deck of the video, which is even more defensive than all of these. And then lastly here is a Lava Hound Minor Poison deck combination, which can be very, very effective at just stopping your opponent on defense and then going in for a Lava Hound and getting pretty good chip damage as well with the minors and the poisons. And this will win you quite a lot of games. And this is personally what I will be using for the challenge. Alright guys, on to the final game of the video. This deck is so good at defense, as well as being able to put on pressure with like a Lava Hound exploding and then the lava pups going everywhere, and then you minor tank for all of them. Or same thing with like a Skelly Barrel, or even with like a Spirit Empress in this case as well, as we both have Spirit Empress. You can easily just get some crazy value out of it by supporting with like a Lava Hound. So we just go for our first Spirit Empress of the game here. Just able to take out that Battle Healer as well as that Executioner, and that poison will just not kill it. So our teammate goes for a Lava Hound in the back. I did want him to put it in front of the Spirit Empress, but it doesn't really matter too much, as we already had quite a bit of an elixir advantage, as they spent quite a bit and we countered it very cheaply. Then I just go for a Skeleton Barrel at the end, really, of when the Lava Hound is crossing over the bridge, because if I did it any sooner, then it would have pushed the Lava Hound a little faster. And we just go for a poison on all his ranged troops. And that Spirit Empress, just look how much value it's getting. It's getting so much value. It's taking out like everything there. And so I'm just going to tank for it even more and try and get even more value out of it. And we do. We get a lot of value. Like, it almost takes out the Executioner. So we just go for a nice log. Our teammate goes for a Tesla. And if they go for their ability, we can just go for like a Tombstone or something. But he doesn't. So that's very nice for us. We can then just go for a miner to get some chip damage because their tower is already pretty low. Although, unfortunately, they did mini P.E.K.K.A like the same time I did it. So now we just go for a Spirit Empress, which should help this defense a lot. And then we can also just go for like a Tombstone as well, and a Valkyrie to just kind of clear everything up. And our teammate did want the ground Spirit Empress there, by the way. That was not actually a mistake. It's just that it's nice that you can get him for like 3 elixir. And then we just go for a Skelly Barrel, and then a Poison to get a lot of damage. Because now, at this point, all we need to do is just Poison Ship and win the game. Also, keep in mind that we both are running Evo Valkyrie, and Evo Valkyrie is like one of the most defensive cards in the game. You just can't go wrong with running her. She will just clean up like a whole golem push by herself practically, so in like 2x against like crazy beatdown decks, you can easily just both have Evo Valk for every single push. Like, you can get it, and then the next push he can have it, and then the next push you can have it, and just do that every single push, and they're never going to be able to break through. And we just go for a nice double poison to take the last game of the video, guys. So I hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe if you want to see more control deck gameplay, as that's mostly what I do on my channel. And have a nice day.